Use the Force, Luke.
Live long and prosper.
I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Shut up and take my money.
I grab Thar's hammer. What a saving.
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
X never, ever marks the spot.
Winter is coming.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Stay a while and listen.
Hey ho, Kermit the Frog.
Your ties are cool.
So say we all.
This is a Play on Nerds. Welcome to episode 222 of A Play on Nerds. I'm one of your lovely co-hosts, Jarman.
And I'm the ugly co-host, Steve.
That isn't the antithesis of lovely. That's different.
I am detrimental.
Okay, there we go. Sure. And in honor of the release of Final Destination Bloodlines, which everyone's excited about, we're invoking that rule of three again, and we're reviewing the classic Final Destination 3. No creative name given.
Yeah, just none. Just three. We're for the reboot of Final Destination people are clamoring for. We want to revisit. I don't want to say one of the good ones because I think this is maybe the second one I've seen.
And is it a reboot? The new one coming out? I don't even know.
Or it might be a spin-off. Like it might be a side shot in some way.
It's in the same universe, probably.
I don't know. I'm definitely not going to watch it.
I'll watch it like in 10 years on this podcast, probably.
But we are watching Final Destination 3.
That is correct. But before we get to that, Steve, what have you been up to since we last chatted?
Oh, man. Just lots of good work. And let's see. We had Mother's Day.
That's right.
Occurred. And for Mother's Day this year, Anna, I'd offered to do sort of my normal shtick where I take both the kids out for half the day.
Oh, yeah.
But she said no. For Mother's Day, she wanted to celebrate by going to Kennywood.
Nice.
So we went to Kennywood and rode some rides. And her and Joyce both got to ride the Thunderbolt, which is one of their classic roller coasters together for the first time.
Oh.
Both of their first times. And so, it was just a fun, special day. And then some dinner with my folks, and that was kind of it.
You guys must really like Kennywood since you go back more frequently.
Well, we've got season passes, so for us, it's like, yeah, let's go for an hour and a half.
Nice. Yeah,
there's no skin off our back. Exactly. What about you?
Well, I've been working like crazy to get this play ready that I'm doing for the Orlando Fringe Festival. And last night we had our opening night, which was great.
Ooh.
It went better than I could have expected. There were so many questions about how it's going to go because at the Fringe Festival, you're all sharing spaces with other people. There's so many different stages at different theaters and stuff.
A lot of smells.
Well, the problem is you have like 15 minutes before each showtime to set up all of your props and set pieces. And at the end, you have like 10 minutes to take it all down so that the next people can get in there and use the stage again. So we had a 3-hour block called the Tech Move-In Day that they assign you before the festival starts, where you move all your stuff in, you go through all of your cues with your lighting cues and sound cues with the tech that you're assigned to. There's a tech person who works with you at your show. And we just have a lot of sound cues and a lot of lighting cues. And my last play at Fringe Festival 3 years ago, we had like barely any tech light cues or sound cues at all. So I didn't realize how long it was going to take. So we only got through our lighting cues, didn't get to do a run of the show. So we had no dress rehearsal. So I was a stress ball until this happened for 2 days. We had 3 days until it was going to happen. And I was in the bathroom like every 20 minutes. I couldn't sleep. I was trying to get everything done in time. Wait, you're on mute, Steve. What'd you say?
I said doing coke, though, guys, just to clarify.
Oh, if only, no.
In the bathroom every 20 minutes.
But I was just like dying of stress, trying to get the programs printed and like getting our posters up at the right time. You have to turn in your posters to the festival staff. And so we got up on stage and it went well. We had an audience of like 40 people, which was more expecting for a Wednesday night. The first showtime available for the festival. So we were going up against the most popular production that's there right now, which is a Taylor Swift thing called Everfolk. It's like a story with all of Taylor Swift songs, and it's just very popular. It's in their biggest venue, but we still got 40 people.
You just described my nightmare.
Yeah. But we got 40 people there, and also the reviewer for the Orlando Sentinel was there, and they haven't posted their review yet, so we're hoping that they enjoyed it. But we had a few mistakes, like some cues that were a little bit late, and then I also made some line mistakes, but also I made my microphone stand fall over like twice on stage, and I tripped over it. I tripped over the stairs and it fell over onto the stage at one point. But the good thing is a silly production. It's so I always made jokes. I would joke to the audience and like, no one saw that, and the audience laughed, or like the cue wasn't coming. And I'm like, I'm glad you're a patient audience, because I'm like this all powerful like alien being. So I can just go meta and break the fourth wall and that kind of stuff. And so I think it went well. And we have a little kid actor in the show who's like 13, and he was adorable.
I remember you mentioning.
And our lead actress was fantastic. We have a sound guy doing live sound effects on stage, and a piano player who works with the SAC Improv Comedy Lab a lot, doing improv songs. So he kind of plays the different genres of music we have during the play, like a Western and a film noir and a space opera. And so, yeah, I was like, I couldn't believe it went as well as it did. I was so tired afterwards. I slept like all day today as well, just like exhausted. But yeah, so that's been my weekly update.
Do you have more shows, or is that it?
So we have 5 more performances. So there was one tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, and then we have one on Tuesday of next week, I think, and then again on Sunday. So there's like a smattering of shows throughout the rest of the festival. So we're hoping to get good word of mouth out there. And the review comes out hopefully tomorrow, and we'll have hopefully it's a good review, and people will want to come see the show. So that's exciting. You're making a face.
Well, let me know how the review goes. Anna's watched something on TV that normally I'm able to tune out, but this is just distracting because it's Conan O'Brien making insane faces. Like it is more distracting than what would typically be on the television.
Conan O'Brien's good at making strange faces.
Oh man, it's his new travel show.
Oh, I loved his last one. He's
hanging out, having chocolate and churros with Javier Bardem.
I'd watch the hell out of that.
I know, and Anna is watching the hell out of it.
But anyways, I think that brings us some nerdy news, perhaps.
It's time for Nerdy News.
All right, this week the cheeky name for my cheeky story is pink tornadoes. For a long time, the flamingo has been thought to be a passive filter feeder, using very little energy and just dipping its beak, hoping to catch shrimp and brine and crustaceans that happen to swim into its clutches. But scientists have discovered that they are actually voracious predators.
Whoa.
They've been discovered to be using complex biomechanics to hunt in a way that scientists never anticipated. So, researchers studied Chilean flamingos in zoos and took scans of their feet and recreated their feet with 3D printing models. And it turns out that when you watch flamingos, they do this little like hoppy thing with their feet where they kind of like rustle them.
Your camera
and everyone
shaking.
thought it was just like a weird fucking bird thing. Well, it turns out it is. But when they're doing this, their feet are shaped in such a way that it creates these little vortexes, mini tornadoes under the water that suck up crustacean and brine from the bottom. They combine this with this like beak movement that it's like a vacuum cleaner sucking all the shrimp into their mouth.
Wow.
It concentrates them and gives them enough food to eat. And so flamingos, often thought to be, the dopes of the bird world, turns out they murder shrimp for business,
And they're working smarter, not harder, basically.
Yeah, dude, they're using science to murder other things.
That's the way to do it.
So yeah, that is, watch out for those flamingos, and that is pink tornadoes.
I love it. Which is, tornado can kill you, and flamingos in the world of Final Destination, our main segment.
Anything can kill you in the world of Final Destination. We start at a local carnival high school kids ride rides, eat terrible food, and play games as we meet our protagonist Wendy, who's snapping photos for a yearbook deadline looming over. The kids go to ride sort of the premier scary roller coaster, but Wendy isn't sure. She decides to ride anyway, riding with her booze best friend, sort of by accident. Her booze brother. There we go. The hydraulics are seen springing a leak, and as it takes off, they get worse. The restraints give way, lifting off of the kid's shoulders as the coaster just careens faster and faster. People are thrown out, broken in pieces, decapitated, murdered in all manners of way. As the rest hang on for dear life, they finally come to a stop, but it's upside down on the big loop. They meet their demise, and we cut back 3 minutes. It's a vision Wendy was having. Wendy freaks out, having seen everyone's death, and tries to warn everybody, but it just ends with part of them getting kicked off the ride as her and some others exit. Soon after, those who do ride meet their untimely demise as she foresaw. Wendy is in a dark place. Her and Ryan, the brother of her beau, struggle to make sense of all this, and Ryan tells her about a similar situation he read about for the French class from a previous movie. Meanwhile, some of the girls who got off the ride head to the tanning beds, and through a series of wacky events, the door is wedged shut. They cause the temperature to malfunction, and then they get wedged inside these tanning beds, and they roast to death and catch on fire.
I called it a Rube Goldberg machine of death.
Everything here's a Rube Goldberg machine of death.
Yeah.
At the funeral, Wendy admits that she felt a cold and terrifying presence as the community struggles to understand these terrible and continuous deaths. Wendy and Ryan pull through a drive-thru, but a truck traps them in, and then another runaway truck careens toward them. They kick out the glass and narrowly escape. The man in front of them is crushed and killed, and it turns out it's another one of the teens from the roller coaster, and the next one they thought might die. Wendy and Ryan review photos, realizing that they contain clues about how the other kids are going to die, and maybe even in what order. They go to warn the weightlifting jock of his upcoming demise. He is bench pressing violently, saying that he's the friggin' champion, and 2 swords swing down from the ceiling of the weight room. They don't kill him. He thinks he made it, but as he celebrates, it turns out they cut the restraints and 2 weights crush his head from both sides. They then try to go warn the goth burnout, who works sort of overnight at a sporting goods store or a construction sort of store. They work out that they think who he might be next. He thinks they're crazy, but then his girlfriend bites it when she is shot through the head like 12 times with a high-powered nail gun. They struggle and review the photos, trying to figure out how Ryan is going to die, as in theory he is next. And they see a flash, fearing that a firework from that night's celebrations to the face is in his future. But it kind of turns out the fireworks are a red herring. They blast off, taking out a light post, and as the goth kid screams that he'll never die, he then dies, being crushed by said light bulbs. We get a real hard cut to 5 months later in a New York City subway. Wendy is talking with some of presumably college friends, but she gets one of her premonitions visions. Suddenly, one of her old classmates hops on with her, and then Ryan is there too. That's when suddenly Wendy realizes that death has finally come for them and was waiting to get them all together. A rat eats something and blows up the tracks or something. It was kind of unclear what happened there. The car hurtles down the tracks faster and faster. The train crashes and flips. Wendy claws her way out of the train only to see the lights of another oncoming one. She's about to be hit. Psych! It was just a vision again. Psych! They're still going to die, though, presumably, because it's still going to happen and they're still on the train.
And they can't get off.
Credits. And that is Final Destination 3.
Yeah.
I think this may have been the only one of these I had seen before somehow.
Really?
I'm not sure how I skipped 1 and 2, but somehow I think I saw this one.
I definitely saw the first one because that was the famous one that had you're following the truck that has all the lumber on it, and the piece of lumber went through their windshield and decapitated them. And that one made everyone freaked out about driving behind those trucks in the road for years. Devon Sawa.
Well, it's funny. they did for this movie coming out, they did a marketing campaign where they put a bunch of those trucks out on the road.
Oh my God.
With like fake lumber, like fake logs in them, and had them drive around with like Final Destination and a QR code.
Oh God.
Brilliant marketing. Brilliant.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I definitely saw the first one. I don't think I had seen this one. It was it's something else. But yeah, I really liked this one actually. I think some things I liked was a lot of it, but it actually had really good music. It had great. The biggest part of it was that the CGI to practical effects, I could often not tell when one started and one ended. Like they integrated them so well, and there was a lot of practical effects in this. So especially for 2006, I couldn't tell where one started and one ended. Like it was really good. Some really good acting from these people. All these people went on to do a lot of other projects. What's her name? Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She's in tons of stuff. Ramona Flowers.
She was relatively early in her career here, but she's kind of do a ton. And a lot of people on this list are working actors. It's people you recognize from something.
I stopped it so many times to go to IMDb. I'm like, where do I know them from? The girl from Silicon Valley. She plays like the one.
Amanda Cruz from Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Patrick Gallagher, who played, I think, like their gym teacher. Oh no, the ride operator guy. He's from Glee. You know, like they're people I know from things.
And the goth kid, actually, I was like, where do I know him from? And I just watched him in Haven. He has like a pretty ongoing part throughout that show, which was on probably when this movie came out, actually. So it's kind of random too. But Tony Todd doing the voice of the carnival ride, because he's in the last two movies as well.
And then you've got the jock guy, and I just looked it up. That actor's name, you recognize from something. His name is Texas Battle.
That's his name?
That's his.
I saw that in the notes a few times. I'm like, what is this Texas Battle they keep referring to? I'm like,
Texas Battle played Louis Romero, the jock who gets his head crushed.
Texas
Battle.
Okay.
I
also put that
I feel like he screws up a lot of Wikipedia searches.
Probably. I was really shocked at a lot of the deaths. Like, doesn't happen to me very often in movies like this, but the sound design, I guess, and the abruptness with which people just are obliterated seem very realistic and like, whoa, geez, like that really freaked the hell out of me. That doesn't happen very often in movies like this. So
I agree. Some good acting throughout, even for sort of teen or early 20s talent.
Mm-hmm.
A couple good stickouts there. And the one thing I really, really have to give to this movie, it wasn't that long. It wasn't crazy long, but the pacing was really incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Everything drove the entire time. They were on a countdown. You were looking forward to seeing the next kind of crazy, you said Rube Goldberg machine of death. And each one was that kind of thing. To the point where we got to the end with the goth, and I was like, are we really at the end of the movie already? Like, it really kept such a good pace. It was kind of incredible.
I didn't feel too rushed. Like, it felt like it was important and it was happening fast and you got to pay attention and it was there. Yeah.
Well, and what I saw, and this was the pattern they used, and I think it's what really did it, is there was all the lead up to whatever the death was.
Mm-hmm.
So the two girls in the tanning bed. There's the lotion that falls off the shelf that wedges the door shut. And then she forgot her iPod, so she's reaching for a CD, which loosens the shelf, which then has to fall. And the other one's like, it's too hot. She goes and messes with the controls, which sort of thing. They took their longer times there. And then when something finally happened, it was quick. It was like,
abrupt.
Bam, this happens, on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, that really worked for me.
It was smart.
I don't really understand why.
They had a lot of redirects. Like, the thing you think is going to kill them from all those Rube Goldberg things happening isn't what actually kills them, but something else from that does. And it's like, whoa, that was smart. All right. I didn't see that coming. So really well done. But
I normally on rule of three, we're just in for an awful treat, and this one was
good.
Maybe the best rule of three we've ever watched.
Yeah, because usually we try
to
list things.
This one was not a punishment.
We try to list things we don't like, and I was like, okay, they could have had more Tony Todd, because apparently he was actually acting in the other ones, and he wasn't in this one in person. He was just the voice of a couple of things.
Who's Tony Todd? Now I got to look him up.
He's the Candyman.
Oh yeah,
with that deep voice.
Okay.
scary deep voice. And then
you had me at Candyman.
All the men were pretty cringy, bad people, but that was pretty true of every 2000s movie. They're all like kind of just jerks that you wouldn't want to hang out with, toxic masculinity kind of crap. But then I put not much else that I didn't like about this movie. It was really good.
I don't know. I'm going to honestly say this was one of the more compelling portrayals of like vain, malicious teenagers that I've seen on film in a long time. So I know you said it was cringy, but I was like, oh yeah, that's really high school.
It was definitely our high school because we were this age. Like these actors are around our age or a little bit older. And like that's how people acted in high school, and it's for better or for worse. It's true.
Yeah, this came out in 2006, so just 2 years after we graduated.
Yeah, but the actors were like our age, even though they're playing, younger people.
That being said, the one thing that I turned to Anna, I said, "This is weird," right? Was that they made it very clear these were college kids, and then in the tanning bed scene, they showed them both topless.
I mean, high school kids. You said
high school kids. Yeah. What did I say?
You said college kids.
Oh, never mind. At the end, they're college kids. But yeah, they're high school kids, but they show them topless. And I was like, what?
But they are graduating. They said they're like looking at colleges. This is their last
year. So we're just going to assume they're 18.
Yeah,
so it's
we're going to hopefully assume.
Oh, okay. We're going to assume they're 18.
But true.
Because honestly, in this movie, I feel like they were like, we already got the R rating from all the gore. Let's just throw some boobs in there. Like, I don't, that's how it felt.
Yeah, there was some director, I don't think it was John Waters, the 70s director, but a different John Waters was saying how he wishes he directed one of these films because they're perfect exploitation films where basically there's not a point to them. They're supposed to be just very entertaining, and they always have a lot of blood and gore and some teenagers who, if they have sex, they're definitely going to die. And there's always some boobs in it. There's always some full frontal nudity.
That's right. And if you look at the James Wong, who's the producer of this, if you look at his other credits, it's like a lot of stuff that we like. And so it makes sense that a lot of that carried through. He was the producer for The One.
Oh, yeah.
102 episodes of American Horror Story.
Great show.
The X-Files.
Also great.
Willard, questionable.
Never saw
it was odd. So it doesn't surprise me that this kind of followed that vein.
Yeah, just entertaining and well put together. Like a fun hour and a half. Surprisingly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think this might be one of the first rule of threes that I'm actually to be like, you guys might want to check this out if you're looking for a popcorn horror suspense kind of flick.
Yeah, and it's on Max if you want to watch it there. So it's available. Check it out. Well, some trivia for this. The cast members on the roller coaster, they had to ride that roller coaster 26 times on the same night in order to shoot the film's main premonition scene. I'd be feeling sick afterwards. The scenes shot in the home improvement store were mostly shot in an actual store, so they were only allowed to film after the store was closed, and they had to leave the store in the exact way they found it. While different parts of the scene were being filmed, other crew members were often putting objects back on the shelves in the background so they could get out of there in time. In addition, they had to turn objects around to hide the brand names and then bring in other fake brand names and then put them back at the end because they didn't want to show the actual brand names in a teen death film, as they put it.
Fair.
This is one of the films that the director and DVD team collaborated on from the film's inception to its DVD release so they could be filming DVD content at the same time. The film was shot with the DVD interactive features in mind, and several of the scenes were filmed several times with varying outcomes, so you can choose your endings on the DVD, like how they die and stuff like that.
I vaguely remember this.
I don't remember that at all.
Maybe that might be why I saw this movie before.
Like because you worked at Blockbuster around that time, you might have like
that would have been a couple years for Blockbuster, but
okay.
mind you, that is still, but I could see that being something that like we watched in a dorm. At someone's apartment or otherwise.
That's true.
But what you just said might legitimately be the reason I've seen it.
Because a choose your own adventure horror like DVD sounds great. The stunt team members Dustin Brooks and Colin Decker invented a type of protective fire gel for the tanning bed scene that allowed the performers to be safely burned without causing any injuries. And they have since been awarded an Academy Award for scientific and technical achievement on that stuff because it's been used ever since, which is pretty cool. But that is Final Destination 3. But we got a bit now for Steve.
Ooh.
I'm calling it Final Dumb-stination.
Sweet.
So basically, I'm going to tell you some real Darwin Awards of how people have died in ridiculous and terrible ways. So trigger warning, this is a little dark, but it's also sadly funny. But I'm going to give you this setup, and you're going to try to tell me how they die and see if you can get it right.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So, number 1, a man wanted to test out a homemade rocket propulsion system on his car in the desert. Any guesses to what happened?
Blew up.
Pretty much. That's where you're going to go. He
Exploded.
He strapped a military-grade rocket to his Chevy, and he launched himself into the side of a cliff at several hundred miles per hour. So that happened.
He forgot the parachute part. Apparently.
Yeah, how to stop.
Yeah.
That's important. This one, a man became obsessed with speeding up the heating process of his lava lamp for some reason. What method do you think he tried to heat up that lava lamp that ended up in his death?
I'm gonna say microwave resulting in house fire resulting in death.
Close, but he put it directly on the stovetop, old school style, and the lamp exploded, and a shard of glass pierced his chest, killing him.
Wow.
That is
okay, so not even fire. That's not even fire.
Yeah.
All right.
This is some Final Destination shit right here. Okay, number 3. At a party, a man wanted to show off by kissing a dangerous animal. What animal do you think it was, and what happened to kill him?
What animal did he think it was?
Or what animal was it, and what happened?
I'm gonna say it was a snake he picked up thinking it was something harmless, and it bit him on the face and or dick.
That is absolutely correct. He tried to French kiss a rattlesnake. It bit him on the tongue, and he died.
So he didn't get bit on the dick, is what you're telling me.
Not quite. All right, number 4. A man wanted to break into a house undetected. He thought a certain old school method would work. What do you think he tried? That ended up in his death.
Down the chimney, died in the chimney.
That is correct.
Yeah.
He got stuck, and only days later did people find him, and he died of asphyxiation.
So that's how Kate's dad from Gremlins died. That was it.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Number 5, 2 men camping in Alaska spotted a bear and decided to try something bold to interact with it. What do you think they did that ended up in their death?
I know it seems obvious with the bear, but I'm going to go with moose attack.
What?
Out of nowhere.
I like that. I like the way you're thinking.
You're like, oh, look at that bear. Then
where'd that moose come from?
Now I'm going to guess they tried to like pick up one of its cubs or something equally stupid.
No, even dumber. They smeared themselves with honey to get a better photo, and the bear mauled them to death.
You don't say.
We're smart as a species. All right, number 6. A man tried to rob an ATM using a new method he saw in an action movie. What do you think he tried that ended up killing him?
A new method he saw in an action movie. I'm going to say he tried to blow it up.
That is correct.
Dynamite in it or something.
He strapped dynamite to the ATM. The explosion killed him and did nothing to the ATM machine.
My only other thought was like he tied it to his car and tried to do, and then ran to a light.
That was my
bulb.
first
that was
thought,
too.
too.
My other thought.
A man broke into a military base and stole a rocket-propelled grenade. What do you think he did with it at home that killed him?
He put it up his asshole.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
No, that's incorrect.
God damn it.
He tried to open the case that it was in with a hammer, and so it detonated in his garage, killing him and destroying his house because he's an idiot.
Wow.
Okay, here's the hot tub thing. Let's go at a backyard party. A man had an idea to keep the hot tub extra hot all night because he wanted a nice hot tub. Can you guess what he did to it to make it deadly?
So he wanted it extra hot. I don't know. My immediate thought is one of those, like, they don't sell them in the U.S. because they're so dangerous, but like with a water boiler things that are just like coils that you stick in water. Yeah, they don't sell them in the U.S. because they are dangerous.
I would imagine.
I don't know. I can't think of like You put a hot plate in and electrocuted him?
That would also be dumb, but you had two good answers. But the correct answer, which was out of the box thinking, I'll give it to him. He ran a garden hose from his car's exhaust pipe into the water. Everyone in the hot tub died of carbon monoxide poisoning.
Oh, my God.
These are depressing. Two left. Number 9. A factory worker needed a nap and decided to sleep somewhere warm and quiet. Where do you think he chose and what happened to him?
All right. So who was it one more time?
It was a factory worker at the factory, and he needed a nap during a shift. So he decided to sleep somewhere that was warm and quiet.
He went in a kiln or an oven.
That would almost be smarter. I don't know. He climbed
When
into
you said warm, that was what I thought.
He climbed into a large industrial cement mixer during his downtime and was still inside it when it restarted. And so the cement just mixed with him in it and he died.
Wow.
And last one, a groom at a wedding wanted to impress his wedding guests with a big celebratory gesture after the ceremony. What did he do and how did it kill him?
After the ceremony, big romantic gesture. I'm going to say he skydived in and his parachute didn't go, or maybe bungee jumped.
That would be hilarious, but no. So he...
I'm taking it back. Moose attack.
Moose attack.
Out of nowhere.
In true American style, he decided he was going to fire an automatic weapon into the air, but he didn't take into account recoil, and the second shot, it went poof, poof. The second shot just shot him right in the head, and he died.
Oh, my gosh.
So these could have been in that movie. Out of 10, let's see how many Steve got right.
I think like 4, maybe.
2, 3.
That was right on.
4 out of 10. That's pretty good. Because there could have been anything, and you got 4 right. That's pretty good.
Next time, I'm just saying moose attack for everything. Those guys are crazy.
That's very true. They're scary and violent, probably more deadly than bears.
Yeah, they big, too.
Mm-hmm. But that brings us to some Radical Recommends.
I recommend.
If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
What do you recommend I do?
I recommend Pleasant.
All right. So in the constant search to find things for me and my children to watch that they will tolerate and I don't hate, I stumbled across something great that is a little sad ultimately. And that is Light and Magic. It is the story of George Lucas, Star Wars, the formation of Industrial Light and Magic, and their evolution over the years in the film industry, not only making Star Wars films, but all the things they did in between. And Jarman, if you haven't watched it, it's on Disney Plus. It is incredible.
Like a documentary series?
Yeah. Incredible. Not only to see the techniques and how much they had to truly make up, like these things that did not exist before them, but how for a long time they were the only name in the special effects game until like Weta showed up. Peter Jackson for like Lord of the Rings, they were it. And it's incredible to see the amount of things they did that you went, oh, wait, they did that? Oh, they did that for that movie? Oh, I didn't know that was them. The whole series is that way because you don't realize how much ILM did.
Oh, yeah. That makes
everything. They started out as like an effect shop, and then their transition to the digital age and more computer generated, them sort of marrying the two, and then them becoming more digital. The first season has 6 episodes. The second season only has 3. And I was a little bit surprised and confused. And it's because ILM disbanded their workshop halfway through the filming of season 3.
What?
Their workshop that had existed since the 70s disbanded, and they closed it because they no longer needed a big studio. Now they're doing all this digital stuff.
Well, why'd they stop the series? And they could have still done more episodes about the history of what was going on. But the whole reason, you'll realize this when you watch, the whole reason that this series worked is because all of these people were in one place. All of these people that worked on X, Y, or Z were the ones that pioneered water effects in movies, were all physically there. And so they could get all this footage. But now that all these people were going to the wind, there was no way
to maintain it.
Oh, that's too bad.
So it's only 9 episodes. First season series has 6, second one has 3, and it is incredible. I recommend everyone watch it just to kind of have your mind blown that ILM is responsible for what we currently consider movies.
That's crazy. It's a huge part of cinema history and history in general.
It's giant.
And you said your kids like watching this too?
Yeah, like they're kind of okay with Star Wars, but really it moves fast enough. There's enough interesting stuff. There were scenes and things from fiction they knew and movies they'd seen. But seriously, watch it. It is incredible. Just the amount of times you'll go, oh wait, that was them. And then it's all George Lucas, because he made the workshop to do Star Wars, and then the success he used his own money to keep it going. But it was years in between Star Wars, and so it was just like, hey, since we're not doing a Star Wars, you're gonna do this movie for my friend Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna do Indiana Jones while we're taking a break, and then you're gonna do Jumanji, and then you're gonna do Perfect Storm, and then we're gonna do some more Star Warses, and then we're gonna it's insane.
That looks like I'll definitely watch that. I love watching the history of film shows, like what's the movies that was on Netflix is really good.
Oh yeah,
yeah, they went for horror as well. So yeah, good stuff.
So I think you'll dig it. I think anyone would dig it. It is absolutely incredible. Light and Magic on Disney Plus. Highly recommend.
Nice, solid recommend. All right,
Yeah.
and that brings us to some trailer reviews. All right, this time around, we're talking about the official full trailer for the new Superman movie coming out, I guess, this summer, surprisingly.
Yeah.
We already got another Superman. So, yeah, we see a longer trailer this time, kind of showing us a little bit more kind of what the story is. Not really entirely, though. Showing that Superman's kind of been suddenly getting backlash from the American government and some citizens that he's getting too involved in international affairs. Looks like which we saw some of in the Man of Steel, the government being worried about him being too powerful and becoming too geopolitical, which I hope it doesn't get too bogged down in. I don't know. What do you think of this trailer, Steve?
I both sort of loved and hated how much they showed.
Yeah.
I liked that there was some mystery around it. I feel like some of that mystery is gone now. I do like seeing Superman in doubt as he's being like grilled by Lois Lane.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, he just wants to save lives. Like people were going to die. There's some of that. I like the guy playing Lex Luthor.
Nicholas Hoult.
Actor. I don't know how it's going to pan out here. I feel like we have not had a successful Lex Luthor since Gene Hackman.
He was great and hammy in the first one.
He was great. And Kevin Spacey, we're just going to forget that chapter ever happened. Yep. And then what was the last? Jesse Eisenberg was the last one. Yeah, I think we're done with that. So I'm ready for a good Lex Luthor. That being said, I can already sort of see the plot choreographed a little bit in that Superman does something, the government deems he's out of control, the government turns to Lex Luthor to bring Superman to heel. Lex Luthor recruits some less than savory characters. There's Hawkgirl in there, but there's also a couple other characters who are like, this person's normally a villain, to bring Superman to heel. They clearly get out of control in some way, and then Superman has to be the hero they need after all.
They kind of pick sides maybe at the end, like Hawkgirl becomes fully good and on his side, and the other ones become more villainous.
I'm excited that this movie is clearly building more of the universe than I thought they were going to do.
But is it too much at one point?
We saw, it might be too much.
Yeah.
That being said, I can guarantee there are characters, cameos, and appearances that were not shown in this trailer that we will see. There's a couple draws. You got Nathan Fillion in there because Gunn just can't not put him in things. Well, I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic for this. Not necessarily because Gunn is involved, though that doesn't hurt.
Right.
But I like this. I like the feel of this Superman. This like slightly more unsure, not quite himself, not sure where he stands in the world. Superman,
kind of naive and just want things to be good, and that's why I really wish that the world had gone differently, where we didn't have the Zack Snyder ones and the whole failed DCEU. If we had gone from the last Superman Returns, whatever, and just had a first James Gunn Superman movie to launch the DCU, and it would have been nice to have him to be able to tell the origin story of Superman, because he couldn't do it again because it'd be too soon. No one wants to see the origin story again, but he would have done it so well and kept it just about Superman, and then we could have properly built out a universe that was brighter and a little happier than those Zack Snyder drudgery things, which are, I didn't mind Man of Steel, but it's just that this could have been so much better of a kickoff. But instead, now I feel like we have all these different characters all already jammed in. So it's like a universe that's already started without us, like we're not really, but I get why Gunn couldn't do that because it's too soon, but I don't know. I'm glad we have an American Superman, which is nice finally.
I think my issue with the Snyder ones is that Henry Cavill is such a monster that he is unbelievable as a mundane, ordinary guy.
It's like bursting out of his suit.
Here, the guy looks muscular in his suit, but they put him in, he doesn't have super wide shoulders, this actor. And because of that, they can put him in some boxier clothes that hide it and disguise it. You see him in it. Henry Cavill, they have not invented a suit big enough
just
to disguise that man is a shaved gorilla. It doesn't exist.
I like that James Gunn's letting just tone it down. Of course, we're gonna get the actor into shape because he's Superman, but he doesn't need to be a massive Hulk. Like he can just be like a normal looking guy. Like he's a very in shape guy, but as Clark Kent, he looks like a normal guy. Like he's just an in shape, good looking dude. But then he can look like Superman and still be in a suit that has a little bit of padding on it, which is fine. Put some padding in there. I don't care. Yeah, I totally agree. But I like, and also a nice little touch. They didn't cast someone famous as Pa Kent and Ma, whatever, his parents.
Pa Kent is a guy who's been a working actor.
Sure, he's just not like
for years.
It's not a Kevin Costner.
Him no, God.
Yeah,
no.
It's not someone who's that famous, just distracting away from
Kevin Costner, Diane Lane as his parents. Yeah. What the hell?
It's always someone famous in every one of the iterations, and now it's just like, just let it be normal character actors who can really do the part well and not be like a distraction. Basically, it doesn't have to be.
Pruitt Taylor Vince is the name of the guy playing Pa Kent.
I recognize his face for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's been in everything. Been in lots of stuff. So, I don't know. I'm excited cautiously for this movie.
As long as it's a little bright, a little bit hopeful, because it's Superman he's supposed to be. And then you can have your Batman later on who's dark and brooding. This should be a little bit more bright and hopeful. I don't know. Finally.
Yeah, man. That is the big question. Okay, what do they do now? Like after this, if this is a success, how do they capitalize on it without borking it?
And can I also say, I wish they would have an older, that's why Gene Hackman works so well, an older, more established Lex Luthor, because that's why he's even the more pissed, is that he spent his entire career as he's an older person establishing himself as this genius corporate billionaire, inventor, scientist, and makes him a little bitter and different than Superman, because now you have this guy is the same age as Superman, kind of a good looking guy, and not somebody you want to look at as like this, bitter billionaire scientist. I don't know. It just doesn't. Yeah, I wish they hadn't cast it so young, but I think Nicholas Hoult could do a great job. We'll see.
I don't know. I see this as same thing they did with Jesse Eisenberg, just poorly, in that James Gunn is thinking, okay, the MCU picked people that it was okay with for a decade.
True.
So we need to pick people that we are okay with for a decade.
They aren't going to die of old age.
These movies, to build these stories. So yes, I understand. Like Holt definitely is too young, but I think the plan is to have them age together.
Yeah. Which I'm okay with if it goes well.
Yeah.
We'll see.
If it goes well, I'm down for it. I mean, the MCU is floundering incredibly hard right now. It might be DC's big chance to swoop in.
That's true. Thunderbolts was good, but it's not the full-on save.
Thunderbolts was the best movie that Marvel has made in a while.
Yes.
And I'm even counting Wakanda Forever. Like even counting that, which was good. This
Black Panther was better than Wakanda Forever, but yeah.
Yes, Black Panther was better. So we'll see. So this one, I'm gonna give. Let's say Raul Julia. He's out in his garage, trying to put together a shelf. He likes woodworking in his spare time. Keeps his hands busy. Here's a commotion inside, and he wanders in, and the living room is just torn up, just torn apart. And Gary Busey runs in. He's like, Raul, I got a dog. And a little white dog runs in. And Raul goes, no, you can't. I'm allergic, Gary. We can't have a dog. And he goes, no. He's a super dog. Help me get this cape on him. And Raul walks straight past him through the front door, grabs his keys, heads to a Bennigan's, and has a scotch.
A Bennigan's of all places. Does it even exist anymore?
I don't know. He finds one.
He's Raul Julia. He can find a Bennigan's.
He can do anything he wants.
So my review for this is Raul Julia's sitting at home, and he's on. It's like strange that Gary Busey's not home yet because it's like 9 p.m. at night. But he turns on the national news as he usually does this time of night. And he says he sees the news reporter saying, we're in the middle of a court hearing right now where Congress is addressing Gary Busey and his interactions with the world leaders of many different warring factions across the world. And you see Gary Busey testifying. He's like, I just want to do good. I can stop the wars. Watch. And he runs out into the middle of a battlefield and he starts yelling at the leaders and knocking over people and pulling their guns out of their hands. And people are so confused. It actually works. He stops many world wars.
That's fair.
Yeah.
If anyone could do it, no, I'm not going to say it's Gary Busey.
It's not Gary
I'm
Busey.
going to stop myself short of that.
It only works for a while, and then all of a sudden, people just start firing at him, and he has to run away. This didn't work like a plan. Where's that super dog?
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 222. How crazy is that?
Whew.
Of a play on nerds? Join us next week. The much anticipated Karate Kid legends, Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio finally together, which is what the people have been asking for, everyone. They've been asking. Hollywood heard you. The formation of a young gentleman into a fighter, testing strength and will. We're going to celebrate another movie that does just that. With a rule of 3. We're going to be reviewing 3 Ninjas Knuckle Up.
So knuckle up, folks.
So brace yourselves. Because the 3 ninjas are going to save some Native Americans.
With their knuckles.
With punching. All of that and more next time. You come on back and be our nerdy audience. We will come on back and be your nerdy co-hosts. Thanks again, Internet.
Stay nerdy, my friends.
Thanks for listening to A Play on Nerds. Feel free to email feedback at aplayonnerds.com with all your questions or comments.
Shoot us a message on Facebook or Twitter and earn yourself a sweet shout out on the show.
Review us on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts so even more nerds can find us. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, we aren't picky.
Check out our entire back catalog and other offerings at aplayonnerds.com.
And how?